So good morning everyone, and welcome one more Sunday morning in Conscious Living Spiritist Center here in North Miami. As always, it seems to be every day these days. We have sunny days out there, pretty warm, but it's nice to see the sun. And it's nice to see you here at the center, and all those who are watching online, welcome, or maybe will watch in the future. Just as an introduction, we are Conscious Living Spiritist Group, a non-for-profit. And our mission really is to study and, more importantly, disseminate spiritism. So, as usual, we'll have a few opening remarks. So what's coming up? Okay, well, in this month, there is a Spiritist family retreat. And this is not something that just occurs here in Miami, but it is all across the US. This is coordinated through the Spiritist Federation. And it's just a fun day to get out and meet with people, meet Spiritists. Here in Miami, it's in the Bill Baggs Park in Key Biscayne, and the information can be found on our website. Also coming up very shortly now in September is the Spiritist Federation of the US yearly symposium, this time in Boston. It's a one-day affair. There's also a separate program for children. I can't read it here, but what age? 4 to 17 years old. So again, and early bird special sale, so $30 for the one day, which is quite a bargain. An opportunity to see Boston as well over the weekend for those who don't know Boston. Very lovely city. Just a couple of announcements about our ongoing courses. Every second and fourth Wednesday, we have a group studying the Spiritist Review, which is the 12-volume of Kardec, and very detailed, but a lot of information there. Although it was basically based on that Spiritist Review that the 5 books of the codification were written, there's still a lot of other information in there in addition to those in the 5 books. So I recommend that. Second and fourth Wednesday, 6:30 on Zoom, and information on the ID and codes can be found on the website. Also have 2 courses going on in English on Wednesdays. First of all, Sunday morning, we had our meeting this morning at 9 o'clock on Zoom. We're studying Genesis. We're on the last chapter on predictions, and we're going to be deciding over the next few weeks what book we're going to continue with, but we will certainly continue. And then on Wednesdays, given by Carlos Barucchi, who facilitates In the Realms of Mediumship, the book of Andre Louise. And again, information can be found on the website. So just to set our minds, align our thoughts, let's just study together this opening reading from the book Happy Lives by Joanna De Angelis. And today is number 88. It goes as follows. No one will help solve your problems if you do not make an effort to face and solve them for yourself. Someone may lend you money to pay down a debt. Nonetheless, the debt persists. Only the creditor has changed. A friend may become your Simon of Cyrene, but your cross is personal, and each person must carry it to his or her liberating Calvary. Therefore, do not tax your loved ones with your grievances, complaints, and struggles. Try to solve one problem at a time until you have overcome all of them. Just read this for the first time, but it's a very poignant message, especially in today's times where we really need to work together, but also realize that we all have our own responsibilities. And it's so easy to sometimes pass on your responsibilities, by taxing your friends and those near to you with your problems. But at the end of the day, really, we all have to solve our own problems with persistence and hope. And with that, let's move on to our opening prayer. Again, let's just relax and put our thoughts to the good vibrations of the good spirits that are always with us, our guardian angels, helping us, guiding us. And we ask that they be with us this next hour or so, particularly close. As always, we're so grateful for the opportunity to be here. And we ask that you stay with us this hour, and so be it. Amen. So I'd like to introduce our speaker of the day, Abigail Dyer, one of the founders here of Conscious Living. I'm sure a lot of you know her well, but I'm sure today's message will be as clear as ever. Good morning. So, Abigail, I'll hand it over to you. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone that is watching us online. Let me open here just a second. Such a wonderful opportunity for us to be here together. In the name of Jesus, we pray and ask the good spirits that are here with us to be with us and help us to understand this lesson. Love your enemies. And I guarantee all of you have heard about this passage from the Gospel according to the Spiritism and all the Gospel from Matthew. And it's a lesson that every time we learn, we learn something, right? And I don't know about you, but enemy can come in all shape and forms. Am I right? And every time we study this lesson, we learn a little bit about ourselves. I sure did, and I hope I can transmit the same lesson and learning that I got it. And in this journey that we're going to talk, it will be like a half an hour, 40 minutes. It's an opportunity for us. I'm going to invite you to go in a ride for our freedom. And our goal with this talk is for us to becoming aware the price we pay to harbor in our heart any animosity. The ones that suffers the most is us. And we're going to learn how the gospel, the Spiritist doctrine, teach us how to let it go, and learn that we are better off to let it go, and how much hurt is in our heart. One piece our heart is in the hands of someone else. We pay a big price for that. So we're going to talk about how to let it go, that, and gain back our freedom. So those are the books that I got inspired by, Gospel and the Spiritist book, of course. And this Atitudes Renovadas, unfortunately, I don't think it's translated yet. And if it is, pardon me, I'll let you know. But we're going to basically study the chapter 12 that I strongly recommend that you read and reread it as many times as possible, because there's so much information in this chapter. How can we create a peace of mind regardless the difficulties we experience in life? And of course, I invite you to visit our bookstore. There are many books so can help us in this cute and malik you, so that you may be the children of your Father who is in heaven, who make the sun rise on the good and evil, and the rain fall on just and on the unjust. For if you love only those who love you, what reward you receive from it? Do not the publicans also do that? And if you greet only your brothers, what you are doing to the others do not. Do not even the publicans do the same? So just by saying that, you love your enemies. God in this passage say, but what's the matter if you love only the ones? That is so nice. When I look at you and your smile, it's so easy to love you, right? But the challenge is when someone else that step on our foot love us. And there are a lot of myths around this passage, a lot of them. And our goal is to show you some so we can explore together how many times we don't understand Jesus' lessons. That's why it's so hard to put in practice. I don't know you, but when I study that, I realize I have a little some in my heart. Do you have a little bit, don't need to be a big enemy, but you have a little someone that step on your foot sometimes and aggravate you, and you have a little some? Do you have, guys?
Sure do.
Can you think about one? If you are online, I want you to invite you to do an exercise with us. So we are going to do a little exercise. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes now. and you the ones at home enjoy. And think about that person that aggravates you, that you harbor a little animosity on your heart. Maybe a big one, but don't go for the big one. Just the one that aggravates you just a little bit now and then. Go back and remember the moment that the person aggravates you. And go back to that moment and feel what felt like it. And now I invite you to scan your body and notice how you feel. Okay, thank you. Did you notice? Was it a pleasant feeling? No, right? Exactly. And our body does not know that we are remembering. So that is the point. Every time we think about it, we feel the same thing as if they are aggravating us again. And we're having so many passages in our Spiritist doctrine that invite us, don't allow yourself to be intoxicated by this negative energy. We are the one drinking the poison daily every time we think about that. So one of the myths that is keeping us from loving our enemies, Jesus did not mean that each one of us should have the same tenderness for one enemy as would be felt for a brother and sister friend. Tenderness presupposes confidence. Well, no one can deposit confidence in another person knowing that they bear malice. No one can show effusive friendship knowing that the other person is likely to abuse the situation. So this is why it's so difficult, because let me adjust it here because I get a little echo. So loving your enemies is a different thing. When you say, how can I love someone that is hurting me like that? That person just hurt us, right? That's why our body is telling that message that is uncomfortable being in the presence of that person at that moment, right? So this is something we need to look at. A evil thought produces a vibration current which causes an unpleasant impression. So that's what it is when someone hurt us. The evil here is like, doesn't mean evil when they commit something that disturbs our well-being and give us an unpleasant impression. A good thought encompasses us with a very agreeable emanation. This is the reason the different sensations which are experienced on the approximation of a friend or an enemy. So now I invite you, close your eyes, think someone that you love very much. Bring a memory, a moment of tenderness between both of you. Just feel what it feels like to be in the presence of this dear person that you love so much. Scan your body and notice how you feel. Okay? You notice the difference? Okay. And this is the myth we needed to break. We cannot feel that with that person yet. Do you agree? Because this requires trust. It's an investment in a relationship that when a friend comes, you naturally feel included. You feel respected. You trust. And you feel that vibration. That's why it's so difficult to have the impression that we need to love our enemies, because when the enemy approaches, we arm ourselves to defend ourselves because we have been hurt. We don't trust, right? But that's false when we understand that we need to give the enemies the same place in our heart that is our friend. And that's the myth we are going to break here today. If this precept seems difficult to put in practice, perhaps impossible, this is only because it was falsely understood that Jesus had ordered us to give both friends and enemies an equal place in our heart. Therefore, to love one's enemy does not mean showing affection, which should not be within our nature, as contact with an enemy makes our heart beat in an entirely different manner to that it beats in contact with a friend. So this is the myth we are breaking. Jesus never asked us to act the same way with friends and enemy. The way love your enemies in a different concept. And of course, Jesus knew that was impossible because the vibration that emanates from a person that is our friend and the one that is enemy is completely different. And we are going to understand that why. It means to forgive all the evil they have caused without hidden thoughts and conditions. It means to not put obstacles in the way to our reconciliation and to wish them well instead of bad things. It is to feel joy instead of regret at the good things that they may come their way, to help them whenever possible, and to abstain by words or acts from everything which might prejudice them. Finally, it means returning goodness to evil without any intention to humiliate. So here we saw the difference with this enemy when the person approached. So what Jesus wants us is not to retaliate it, and invite us to forgive what was done to us without any thoughts or hidden conditions, and invite us to dissolve and not impede any possibility of reconciliation, because everybody that done something wrong to others, one mom is going to say, hello, I should have done that. It's not the way we act, because might be that person for someone else, because all of us some way, somehow hurt others. And many times we are unaware. We might be someone else's enemy. We might be that person that aggravates others and hurt others, and maybe we don't even notice. Sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't even notice that the way we are being hurt others. Sometimes we are unaware that we disturb someone else's well-being. But when we realize, what do? We come to the person and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I realized I did this and I don't want to do it. Please forgive me, right? And we don't want to be that person that impedes the reconciliation. That's what I mean Jesus wants us to do. Forgive. And don't put any obstacles for reconciliation. And be happy with that person if something come up good for them. And if they ask help, be prepared to help. And not doing anything to prejudice them. So finally, when we can return goods for the evil without any intention to humiliate, we are learning something. So the invitation he asks us to do is to do our share, our part. Love one another. It means, whosoever can produce this manner fulfills the condition of the commandments. Love your enemies. Love your enemies. So the invitation is for us to look in our heart. Has nothing to do with the person. Because we are going to free ourselves to be tied in that energy of animosity. So, love your enemies. Christ came and said, render good for evil. And many times when someone steps on our foot, or when we perceive that we have some resentment in our hearts, our natural tendency is to do the same. Hey, right? But the invitation is for us to handle good with good for evil. Change that, because we want to act according to our nature, based on the principles and the lessons we are learning from Jesus. That's what it's all about. He doesn't want us to be offering the same space in our heart, but he said, look, let it be. They are going to understand what they've done in their own time. Let's look in your heart and free yourself to that energy. And most importantly, we want to act according to our nature, not in responding to someone else's nature. And he stated further, if someone strikes your right cheek, offer him the other also. By this word, Jesus did not interdict self-defense by condemning vengeance. By saying to offer one's cheek when the other has been struck, he's saying another way that one should not repay evil with evil, that people should humble, accept everything that tends to lower your pride. So this is another myth that everybody gets confused when they say, offer the other cheek. They say, I'm going to allow to be abused? No, I'm not. I'm going to defend myself. It's not a natural thing to say when you do not understand the message. But here, offer another cheek, it means respond with goodness any evil that gets to you. Acting according to your nature, that our nature is practicing the lessons of Jesus. So when someone, in a moment of being unaware that they are hurting others, have a little compassion in their heart and treat them the way you want to be treated. And sometimes we need to set boundaries, but we need to do in a good way, in the way that we don't disturb their well-being and not have intention to humiliate them. But sometimes we just needed to set boundaries, but doing with goodness. Hey, let's think about that. You know? Forgiving, it does not mean that you agree in error, but that you choose to act in accordance with your integrity by doing good. And that's what it's about. Loving your enemy, you need to forgive what happened and understand that he's acting according his integrity, he's not prepared, and whatever motivated the person to do whatever they did, this is between them and God. Our job is what between us and God. Acting according to our integrity. If you go in the internet, you see so many wonderful testimony people that forgive their aggressor or aggressor of their family or their children and acting according to that integrity. That's what Jesus is all about, to love your enemies. Having the compassion in your heart to forgive, because we know we are all imperfect beings and we do not know better. And sometimes we do things that is speechless in a moment of an incredible emotional distress. In a moment that the emotions take over, blind a person and make actions that is amazing, surprisingly disturbing. So in this moment, the compassion in our heart needs to come up and understand and forgive the person. They don't know yet how to align with the God's law, how to align and put in practice and all the teachings that we have the privilege to be here learning. But we are. So it's our responsibility to act like a good Christian and spread goodness every time and not to react in the same way. Because it's very easy to match the energy, isn't it? When someone in the traffic go very bad, we feel like respond and bump the horn, isn't it? Disturb even further everybody around, isn't it? But have understand that person is unaware of what they are doing. And do that in our personal life, in every morning. It requires a lot of understanding, because many times we cannot do that. Have you experienced returning good and evil and you felt miserable? I'm not alone, right? Okay. So what keeps us from forgiving? Sorrows, resentment, vengeance. The important thing about emotion is the effort that must be developed so that can be transformed into harmful and useful. Avoiding spreading the hostile feeling by managing the reaction it produces through the habit of respecting others. And it's unavoidable. It is impossible sometimes when we have an action that is so aggressive. Sometimes there are things that happen to us that, what? Right? It's natural to have all those emotions. It's natural to be upset and to be angry. It's natural. We are human beings. We cannot be meek all the time. We are not yet prepared to be merciful all the time, right? We have emotions. And the secret here is to be vigilant. What do we want to do with it? And how we manage those emotions. Because at the end of the day, it's not what happened to us. It's what we react towards what happens to us that shows who we are and where we are in our life. And of course, we can many times has the desire to correct, to teach them and show them better, or sometimes pretend that we forgive, like, that's okay, but the divine justice is going to catch him any day, any time. That's not it, right? So we need to be real, but we need to handle our emotions and be vigilant so we don't act on them and respond to what happened based according to the teachings we are learning. And many times we don't know how to, because resentment is a stage of criticism against the conduct of others, pointing out to them, deriving the errors that in the last hypothesis are projections of their own conflicts. Do not allow yourself, therefore, to accept the miasmas of resentment that give rise to antipathy and animosity. And I love this little story. I believe everybody knows, right? The little boy came and said to his father, "Oh, I'm so angry to that person. I want to let him know what he did, And he was blah, blah, blah about his friend. So the father took him outside and put like a white sheet and I say, I have those charcoals here. You can throw them. Alleviate this anger towards him. Throw as many pieces of charcoals on him. And every time you tell him what you want him to know." And the boy got enthusiastic about it. And he did, and he did, and he did. When he finished, the father said, "How are you feeling?" He said, "Much better." And I said, "Okay, look at the sheet in there. There were some spots, of course. But now you're going to look in the mirror." And the boy was full black. He could not even notice his eyes. And said, "That's what happened when we blow out our resentments. We harbor, but we are the one who's really dirty. The other gets some, but we hurt us the most." And that little funny thing is so wonderful metaphor for us to prevent ourselves to blow out and return evil with evil, because we are the one who accept that energy, that miasma that is attracting and disturb our balance. Many times, how many times we woke up in the morning, we pray and say, "Today I'm going to have a day of serenity." And you go in the traffic and you find anger driver. Have you experienced that? And right there, boom, you get so many emotions that disturb your whole day if you are not vigilant. Isn't that right? Or get to your job and you are partnering with someone that has their 50% in a project, and the way you're going to present, and the person does not do their job, and spill on you, and you get so aggravated. Right there, you lose your balance, and you start having so many difficulties, right? And many times we don't know how to do and how to express ourselves and how to return good with evil, and we get very confused on that one. And every time we do that, we intoxicate ourselves with that energy. So learning how to handle It's the whole 9 yards of lessons that Jesus knew then, and he wants us to do it. And one aggravating thing that we have, that I want to bring it up, when we harbor that resentment, and we harbor those feelings against others, not just hurt us continuously, because as I said, our memory does not remember that happened in the past, and we remember now and then. And many times when we harbor the resentment, the sorrow, that is difficult for us here to let it go. Sometimes we have breakfast with that person, we have lunch with that person, we have dinner with that person in our thoughts, and we take them to bed with us because they are the most popular person in our mind. When he's alive, the resentment, is not that happen? We try not to think about them, they were most popular thoughts in our mind. And what happened that is even more difficult, because we have discarnate enemies that can potentialize that. Death frees them only from the physical presence of their enemies, and that their enemies can pursue them with their hatred even after having left the earth behind. The enemies of the invisible world express their malevolence through the obsessions and subjugations of which so many people are the targets, and which are one of the variety of life trials. And what is fascinating when we learn in Spiritism, because that animosity vibrates in a way that is energy around us. Everybody knows this, right? If someone aggravated entered the room, we are going to notice right away, don't we? We notice. Like so many times, some of the wives or husband are aggravated to each other. By the time they enter, it's written in their forehead, isn't it? You feel. And the same thing with our children. How many times the kids, just by looking at us, they know they need to sit straight and get their act together, because otherwise they are going to hear from us, right? So in our energy, we emanate that energy. And we need to remember that we have a lot of spirits watching us. And some of them, they don't like us all that much. That's why Jesus said, reconcile with your enemies while they are in the way, because if they discarnate, only their body discarnated. When we die, we take with us all the feelings, all the resentments, and go along. And if someone discarnated being angry with us, being our enemy, you can count, we're going to hear from them eventually, when they can. And sometimes there are spirits around us that they want to harm us. That's when the obsession comes along. And we are all obsessed, some way, somehow, in some degree, right? But in our prayer, in our vigilance, we are protected. But when we open the door in our vibration, they can really be together. So if I'm always angry and aggravating, I'm going to attract spirits like that around me that's going to potentialize that. And many times people come in the center and say, oh, I need to take a path here. Something is really wrong. I feel it. I'm being obsessed. And so we say, okay, let's sit down, pay attention in the talk, come into the studies. The good spirit are going to help you. And many times the good spirits in the past, they take the obsessor away. By getting to the car, go back in our life, we do not renew our vibration, and we attract another one. So this is very important, that we learn to practice the lessons of Jesus in our house, in our home, in our life. Make sense? So, the attitude of forgiveness towards them should be expressed as tolerance and kindness, while we maintain understanding around their difficulties and acting correctly. So we pay a price when we feel like paying back and let them know what I feel kind of thing. We lose our peace. And when we love our enemies, we keep our peace. because we are freeing ourselves, not them. We are not doing anything regarding their mistakes. Their mistakes is between them and their conscience. And one day, when they are good and ready, they will look at what we are freeing ourselves is our peace of mind and our vibration and the amount of serenity I want to have in my everyday. And that is the goal of our talk, our freedom. Freedom from the misery of others. Because every time someone hurt us, they are more miserable than us. They are suffering more than us. Because we have learned how to forgive, how to understand, how to handle good with evil, for evil. And this I love very much. When there is no enemy inside, the enemies outside can't hurt you. That's from Churchill. That's why we need to work in our inner transformation. Because when we have handled the enemies within us, all the enemies outside cannot hurt us. And what I want to say about that, I'm sorry to break the news, but that has been my spiritual awakening. And spiritism, the true enemy there is, it is inside of me. I hated that when I understood that. It was so much easier to blame my mother, my father, my neighbor, my children. They are the ones who take my peace of mind. No. When there is no enemy inside of me, I have compassion. I have tolerance. I can forgive. But if I'm aggravated with myself, if I'm annoyed with myself, the annoyance of others has a higher volume. Make sense? Because we are here and living together to learn about each other. When we go in our inner transformation journey, we understand that whatever upsets me has nothing to do with others. They are just present opportunity for me to know myself. And when we take the responsibility to look why that bothers me so much, we free ourselves from that misery. And then the person can act like this, but we are able and protected by our inner transformation not to react towards. So if you become aware of ourselves, the values that characterize you, the possibilities at your disposal, it's possible to exercise control over your emotions. So when I put the work towards my inner transformation, cultivating self-love, self-forgiveness, when I understand that what I criticize others, I have within me. The things that I cannot forgive in others, I have within in me. It is amazing how we can start loving our enemies. Because in reality, any difficulties we have with others is just to show where we are in life. It is a fact. Of course, by doing this, I'm not diminishing the fault of others. Because there are some things that are done that is amazingly hurtful. There is no excuse for them. But forgiveness has nothing to do with judging others. It's about to understand that's where they are. And I need to see where I am in here. And many times we see where we are and we are not happy about it. It is a fact. There are a few things that we cannot forgive yet. We need to work because forgiveness is an exercise. And the more we work in our inner transformation, you become aware where you are. I don't know you guys, every time that I got very upset and hurt others, it's because I was suffering. I was scared. I was anxious. I was feeling out of control. Because I was able to handle those feelings, I started to understand that behind any aggressivity that I receive, there is a being just like me suffering. And because I did my homework, I can be a little bit more compassionate and tolerant and understand one day that person is going to have an awakening that they need to handle their fears rather than projecting others their aggressivity. But they are going to do when they are good and ready. My job is to do mine when I'm good and ready. And forgiving myself for every time I wrong others. And take responsibility for that. Help me to forgive myself. And when I forgive myself, I have more chance to forgive others. The person who does not forgive themselves, they are very hard on themselves. They're having a very hard time to forgive others because we are going to do to others what we do to us. So whatever happened is depend on how I handle and how I treat myself. And I know for sure every difficulty I have with others and animosity was an opportunity for me to learn and grow. If I want to move on and free myself from that unpleasant vibration, I learn. I look that moment of crisis as an opportunity to grow. And I learn a lot of myself because one thing is crystal clear for me. When anything that disturbs me is because I'm projecting something that is within in me that I never took responsibility. That's what I learned in my inner transformation. And many times our contribution is like this much. But I need to see this much outside for me to see my big fault. And when I see mine, I free myself what's connecting me with that energy. Because the enemy vibration, and if I keep in that vibration, aggravated for what happened to me, I mean like this. When I love my enemies, I do a jump. And that does not interfere in my energy no longer. And that's why I'm even able to pray for the people who aggravate me. Because that's what Jesus recommended in Lucas. If we look in the passage in Lucas, they ask you, pray for those who harm you. Because you free yourself above that energy. And you don't feel in retaliation because you pray. And this is our true protection. A person who occupies a higher place in this world does not feel offended by insults of those whom they consider inferior. The same is true in the moral world for those who rise above materialistic humanity. They understand that the hatred and the grudge only degrade and diminish them. Our soul must be bigger, noble, and more generous than this. And that's our true protection. Because if we look around today in the world, if you're going to respond at the same level, we go pretty nuts, huh? Because there is a lot of things happening that we don't feel okay with it, right? But there is nothing to do with us because that's what it is. Our planet is a moment of regeneration. So everybody is being invited with difficult situations to learn as an opportunity to grow. Our true protection is to rise above that and show our more generous forgiveness nature. And we need to be in a higher vibration than that for not to get disturbed. And we have all the tools here. Spiritists bring us all the tools for us to rise above. Pray and be vigilant and take responsibility for the feelings that upset us, because that tells about us. The people who are doing the insults, the aggravation, the lack of commitment, or whatever they did it to us, they're showing their nature, where they are. And that's not our business. That's between them and their conscience. What is for us is what is in our conscience. So it's an opportunity for us to be more generous with that lesson. Grow a little bit and understand us. So it is very step is necessary for us to understand so we can forgive and learn to love our enemies. And in this moment, studying all that, it's clear to me love is your enemy is to become neutral, letting them be and understanding where they are. And if I can just be neutral with them, I'm in loving them. So love your enemies is make peace in your heart and let them be. Be neutral about it. Don't allow that person to disturb us any further. And pray for them, if you can, when you can. Maybe that would help us in the next incarnation to become a friend. And maybe some of them can truly become a friend. Because when we learn a lesson, we create a space to nurture a relationship, and maybe both of us will learn the lesson and even become friends. But that's not the goal. The goal is for us to be neutral and make a peace in our heart. And if I make one enemy neutral in this incarnation, I already win my incarnation. If I can be prepared when I go to a spiritual realm, my heart is free of animosity towards others, I win my incarnation. Because many people can be my enemy, perceive me as an enemy. My job is not to be enemy of anyone. We are totally incapable how people handle their lives. But I'm responsible how I handle mine, and there is my goal to live this incarnation not to be enemy to anyone, not to harbor any resentment or animosity towards others in my heart. That's our goal. In this way, we need to practice our prayers, the obedience and resignation as the gospel recommends us, and above it all, be connected with Jesus and the good spirit that inspired us and guide us in the moments of difficulties, because it's not an easy job, but that's our goal. And that's my message for the day. I wish you everyone a very wonderful Sunday.
Just bring up the other, where are we?
There we go.
Oh, thank you very much for your very inspiring talk, as always. And I think very appropriate in this time, as you say. So much attrition and conflict going on in this world. We all need to reflect on the message of today and do what we can in our own realm of influence. So with that, we now go to the second part of our meeting today, which is passes. For those at home, you may like to just meditate along with us. Maybe put a glass of water by the side and get the influence of the good spirits. So just before we start the passes, let's have a short prayer, thanking the good spirits that are with us now. Help us to connect and feel the energies and receive the healing passes that will re-energize us and guide us towards a better spirit. And so be it. So as we come to the end of our meeting today, let's reflect on the messages of today, how pertinent it is in these times, and how developing that ability to forgive, accept other people for what they are, what they're doing, the challenges they're facing, and also reflect on ourselves. As the message of the talk today, it's important not just to look outside but inside. We're all on this journey together. We're all learning and being aware of what we say and do to others is so important. Often a small phrase in the wrong time can be very hurtful. But other times we can always think that our path forward is to do unto others we want them to do to ourselves. This is the message of Jesus. So let's keep that in our mind, our thoughts. Be aware, be gentle, be understanding. We thanks again for the good spirits being with us. We ask to stay with us the next week before we come back here again together, to come together and continue our study in this wonderful subject of spiritism. Thank you so much, and so be it.
Amen.
So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday.